one thing I always say, Joe, it's like there's like a economics lesson when it comes to a business that when it comes to business like you and I are doing, I always say, and this is a good lesson anybody listening to this could really take on. Number one part of every company, the hierarchy of the company can get screwed up big time, meaning that there is different aspects of a company. There is the branding and marketing, there is the sales part of it, then there is the operation part, and then there is the financial part of it. Well, what happens in a lot of companies is the financial guy who's trying to pay the bills goes to the top of the list and he starts saying, hey, we can't afford any of this stuff. And next thing you know, the marketing shuts down. We can't afford that sales training. The operation, hey, send some people home. We're not working anymore. Pretty soon you're down to a light bulb and the financial guy sitting in an office when the business is not a business anymore. You kind of let the financial, that's like the scorekeeper taking charge of a football game, a football team, right? The financial guy is a scorekeeper. He's at the bottom of the chain. So when he jumps to the top saying we can't pay for something, that is just, he should just be a flare gun or the scoreboard saying, hey, account is low. That's the score. Somebody needs to do something in marketing and sales to get going on this because we have no money to pay the bills. That's just an indicator, not something that should block everything at that point. Or when the operations guy, like the guy who does the guy who stores the roofing or who does the projects is like, hey, we can't take any more projects on. It's like, dude, we're going to sell more projects. We're just going to have to delay them at a different time frame. We're going to sell them. We're not going to stop selling. We're going to put the pressure on you to hire more people or develop more people, because without pressure in the organization, so the financial people should put pressure on sales and marketing. The operations should speak up when they can't do a project at the speed we're selling them, which indicates a problem that needs a solution. Our recruiting and hiring or training solutions need to be upgraded. Our finance guy can't pay the bills. Well, the marketing and sales need to improve. It's not that we need to shut things down, because I do have a truth about that. You can never cut back your way to success. When you have overhead and you have a company the way it's designed, nobody ever bought something for their company that wasn't needed. So when you got it, you got it. That's your overhead. It's not going any lower. It will never go lower. Whatever it takes to run this thing, phones, marketing, building, trucks, fuel, insurance, it's all at its at or going higher. It's not going to go lower. So the reason for my business, and in for yours too, is to make sure that we can create higher value as the prices raise. So we can keep the company up to par as the prices are increasing on all the overhead needs, and the prices of materials and even human labor shortages are occurring. Well, isn't it ridiculous that all the things that are happening cost more money, but contractors are attempted to lower the price? It doesn't make any sense. So you have to increase your prices constantly. If you had 8 price increases last year, you should have had 8 moments where we need to upgrade our value in some way to offset that thing. And one of the best ways to increase the value is just by the way you communicate the value of your services. There was a time when we didn't have to do it; just the brand name would do it. If you're in a small town and you have the biggest brand name, well, maybe you don't have to do it. But those days are fading away, because when you get Google and other people in this business bringing other smaller people into it who look bigger now, you're going to have to compete on a higher level. Make sense? So marketing, sales, operation, and finance. Operation and finance serve at the pleasure of the salespeople. Salespeople aren't an interruption to the job. They're the reason for the job. We wouldn't even have a job if it wasn't for those people, right? And so most roofing companies and HVAC and all the other companies, they look at salespeople as like, oh, it's just a sales guy. Truthfully, that's the guy who feeds all these families. Without him selling things and the marketing people making the promise that the sales guy's got to uphold, none of it works.
I love that. I love the way that you said create higher value by the way you communicate. One of the ways that we look at that is create the perceived value without adding to the cost of delivering that value. So, I mean, that would be that example. The way you communicate, the words you use, the training that you have that you can deploy, that's excellent. Like things are going up in cost. Like we have to raise our prices, right? Not to gouge, but like to be profitable in order to serve our clients the way they need to be served and to provide for our people. Like that's irresponsible if we're just having that knee-jerk reaction of saying, all right, well, people are hesitating a little bit more. Maybe I should lower prices. Like, that's such a knee-jerk reaction. I'm sure that's something that you see quite a bit, right?
Well, it is, and I can tell you, I'll give you some free content right now, everybody. Here's what you can do right now to create higher value. How about this? If you just cut the whole podcast down to this right here, you'd probably be worth the entire time you spent listening to it so far, right? Number one, you have to commit to saying, I'm always going to diagnose the entire system of whatever it is I'm working on. If you're an accountant, somebody says, hey, I just want to get my taxes done. I'm going to say, well, we're going to look at all your financials to see if those taxes are authentic and real. We're going to do that. If I'm a roofer, I'm going to say, well, I'm going to look at everything. I'm going to look at the way the water drains, the way the positioning of what's the right material, what's the right application, what's the right design we should have for this type of a home. We're going to make sure the home can support the kind of roof we're going to do. Make sure that's even going to do there. So diagnose the whole system, diagnose the people, so you know who you're dealing with, who is the one requesting the service in the family, what did they say, what was the conversation like, and then what's the impact that the current situation is having on your family right now. If there's no impact on the family, there's no reason for the solution. So I tell people that. There's always a reason, because nobody would ever call a roofer or a heating guy or a plumber if they didn't have a problem.